Hi everyone, and this is another episode for Getting Naked with Happiness. And due to the COVID-19 situation, Jade and I have decided to come together and do this series of podcasts to talk about things around COVID-19 and to share tips and also skills so that we can stay resilient, happy, and upbeat. And I'm very happy that Jade is here because her energy is awesome. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast and you find it useful.
This is a very special episode because Jade and I have gathered to wanting to bring this channel to you because we want to talk about the issues and topics surrounding COVID-19. And I think that's why we have Jade today. And after the last few weeks of meeting up and discussion, we realized that there are a lot of things going on the ground, and it's very important for us to gather together and share tips. What do you think, Jade?
Honestly, I think that we are I don't really dare to say it because I don't want people to panic, which is why I think the government is not saying it, but we are more or less in DORSCON red, just that we haven't put it, like it hasn't been, the official statement hasn't been put out as such. That said, if you actually read more on what DORSCON red actually means, it's not cause for panic. It just means that, yeah, of course it's at a level that it's a bit more urgent and dire, but there's no need to like go out and stock up and all that, right? So I think they've done a good move in not labeling it, because when they labeled it DORSCON orange, people already like lost their minds a little bit. I think I feel like because we're not medical professionals, I don't really want to talk about it from the point of view of like a medical person, but just more, you being like a positive psychology practitioner and like expert, more like how we can cope with it. Because I feel like even though you haven't been medically infected with the virus, I feel like everyone has been infected with the virus in some way, if you know what I mean, whether mentally or emotionally or psychologically. Like it's just not been great. Generally the air is a little bit negative in all senses of the word, not just in terms of being infected, like I said, but just people's minds. So I think as I myself try to figure out how to stay positive and to stay mentally strong in these times, I think that's what I would like to be able to discuss and to find ideas from you and from like listeners and anyone watching. Like just give us some ideas.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, our heart goes out to those people who are in the medical social field, and especially in civil service, who are putting a lot of great length of time and effort and energy, and even to try to reassure us during this crisis, right? Yeah. And so I think we also want to raise awareness in this area that there is also always a choice in how the way we respond during this crisis.
Yeah.
And 800,000 people have been infected by COVID-19 physically.
Yeah.
But 7 billion people have been infected by it mentally and emotionally.
Yeah. And I think this is the part that's not talked about.
Yeah.
Because the numbers every day show how many people have been infected, how many people are dying, and it's not that these are numbers that we should not pay attention to, but I think it's good that we pay attention to the 7 billion who have been affected mentally. I think there's not as much said or done about that, and maybe because there's, of course you're dealing with the people who actually have the disease, but I guess people like us, we can try to help ourselves and help the 7 billion who have not had a lot of support mentally lah.
Yeah, I think it also goes back to the time whereby, we talk about common issues like mental illnesses. Because of the word mental illness is very elusive, because that it's very broad-based. We talk about depression, anxiety, stress, and, of course, all these stuff, right? But these mental illnesses have already been undercurrent before the emergence of the pandemic. And when this pandemic happens, it brings forth these points to the extreme. So a small anxiety becomes extreme anxiety right now. A small little bit of sadness becomes intense sadness and worry right now. So I guess that this is also part of being a human being, and we want to address these things, that how could we recognize these signs and then pay attention to our own mental resilience so that we can stay frosty and resilient, and so that we will not become a victim. So if you look at, I would say, of course, I'm a Singaporean. Too, we are Singaporeans. Let's go back to the time whereby we talk about panic buying. Yeah, and there's a lot of thoughts about like buying toilet paper, And one of the colleague from the industry was asking that why are people buying toilet paper?
Why actually? Yeah, I think there was an article written about it, but I mean, also I find it a like very interesting thing. Like, I understand that people are buying things like rice or canned food or instant noodles, which are like if you're afraid that you won't have food to survive. But I'm not quite sure about the toilet paper also. What's your thought on it from a?
My first initial reaction is that because we are losing a sense of control of the world,
Yeah.
we have no idea what's happening. There's a lot of anxiety, and then there's a lot of uncertainty. So the first thing that we can control of is to take care of ourselves. So like sanitary products like toilet paper or tissue paper, I think that things will keep us hygiene will first come to mind, because that when we buy them, we have control over the situation.
I think this is akin to people also with eating disorders, if I'm not wrong. Because when you feel a lack of control in other areas of your life, then this is what you want to control. I think the article that I read was that toilet paper, because it's voluminous, right, in size, it's like when you buy a stack of toilet paper, it's huge, right? Right, compared to like a can of, say, preserved vegetables. So if people feel good about it, like, oh yeah, you're right, I'm taking care of myself because I have bought like a lot of toilet paper. They can see it physically, like I have bales and bales of toilet paper. I am prepared, right? So I mean, what is, from a positive psychology perspective, what are some ways that we can deal with, like you said, ways to build up our own personal resilience so that we stay frosty?
Yeah. There are many different interventions that we can use, right? From the very simple ones to the very difficult ones. But I think before we go into the interventions, maybe I would like to talk a little bit more about fear, which everyone is aware what fear is. But I think we need to reiterate the fact that how fear is impacting us during these times, comparing to normal times, right? Like, for example, panic buying is exactly an action of fear, a behavior of fear, that we are afraid that we are going to run out of basic supplies. And this is like, let's focus on the doom and gloom of the situation. Let's have some control back. Let's buy what my family needs. Let's hunker down and let's survive and wait for the storm to go over. But the very fact that if we participate in this behavior, which is fine for the basic needs, but at the same time we are also spreading the behavior. We are also multiplying the behavior because we learn from each other. And talking about fear is the most basic primate feeling that we have to keep us alive. But at the same time that, when our brain pumps in this fear all the time, it sends this signal to our guts, our gut, our digestion system. And then at the same time, when we look at the media outside what's happening, it keep on going back in this basis. So what I'm trying to say here is that we keep flooding ourselves in this feedback loop again and again and again and again. And in the normal fearful situation, it could be we have a small injection of fear, but after the situation has passed, we relaxed and our body calmed down and we are okay with with these emotions. But now when we look at the media, the situation is uncertain. We keep on going back again and again and again. At the end of the day, we may not contract the virus, but mentally, emotionally, we hammer our own immune system. We become less immune because we are highly stressed. And this is what I want to say about fear.
Okay, so I mean, it is from a physiological perspective as well as psychological perspective, important to manage the fear. Right? Because you're saying that it can stress the body and actually physically weaken you from the stress, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how do you think people should best deal with their fear? And how do you think people should help others deal with their fear? Because I think there's a lot of fear and paranoia going around. I mean, I myself, like, personally have people like around me, right? I'm not quite sure how to help them. Like, I know that this is a terrible virus, but then the level of fear, I feel like, is not helping them. It's not serving them, right? But how do I help?
Well, first we have to be very realistic of the whole situation, in terms of that this is a critical situation and this is happening not just to us but around the whole world. So we are in this together collectively. And the first thing is, if let's say a person is panicking extremely and saying that, okay, no, let's survive, let's worry, let's stress out. Can we really help this group of people? We cannot. We cannot. Because they have really self-imprisoned themselves in that state of mind. Yeah, and because if let's say they have that sort of belief, they will do everything else as a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So if let's say the person is really caught up in that in mental imprisonment, we cannot really help them up front, but we can help them by the side.
Okay.
By first remaining calm yourself, reassuring that everything is not that bad, and then you can start by making yourself available to the person that everything's going to be okay. Yeah. And when the person go past that fearful period and they go back to normality a little bit, then this is when you can go in and help them.
Okay.
Yeah, when they are more sensible. Because when fear activates, right, our survival instincts are activated. We cannot comprehend logic. It's just like when a lion is chasing after you, back in the olden days, let's say we are the caveman, right?
Yeah.
You don't think about how should I deal with this situation? You just run. So right now, if let's say the fear is set on, you just run and wait for them to run and slow down, and then you go in and talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think why I'm saying this is because that there are many, I think there are many good people out there. They are trying to give advice saying that, no, these are the things that you can practice. Let's be more positive. These are the 3 steps. But I would say that these are good things that you can apply. But if a person is in a state of fear and worry, they cannot apply this because they are busy surviving.
Okay, I understand. And so you're saying we can only help to a certain point when they're at that point. How about helping ourselves? Like what if we identify that we are perhaps a bit fearful or we want to get ourselves out of it? How do we help ourselves?
For those people who are much more, who raise this question about helping ourselves, I think they are a bit more aware.
Yeah.
And they are more in the positions to think about, okay, I have enough of this. What can I do next, or how can I do differently? Then with this awareness, we can do different sort of interventions. And there are many different types of interventions. First, maybe the most common ones would be bring your attention back to our body.
That's considered an intervention.
Yeah, it could be considered intervention.
Sorry, just taking a step back for people who may not understand, what exactly is an intervention?
Okay, an intervention is an activity that you can do that will bring you to a good outcome, especially for, it could be related to your well-being development, your relationships, or personal development. Or
so
work.
When you say it's a resilience intervention, it is something that you do to build resilience.
Yes.
Like an activity.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said one way is to
Thank you.
One way is to, because not everyone may understand, right? So it's like an activity. So one way is to bring awareness back to yourself, you see. And how do we do that?
Yeah. Well, resilience, maybe we need to define like what is resilience. There are so many different definitions, right? But the common understanding, the meaning of resilience means that when we face an adversity or stressful situation, we can have the choice to bounce back.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's say that we are in a negative state. This is the adversity. We collapse, then we bounce back, but we don't bounce back to the original form where we started. We can even bounce back further.
Oh, okay.
And we can go past the origins, right?
So that's how you like sort of build resilience, right? Okay. So one such resilience intervention or activity would be to bring awareness back to the self.
Yeah.
And how exactly can you do that?
One of my favorite activity would be focusing on your breath.
Okay.
And because when we talk about fear, a lot of that happens in our brain and goes into our nerves, and our nerves go into our organs, right? So in short, it's in our body. Fear and emotions are in our body. So the first thing is to bring the awareness back, not from your thoughts, but into our body. So you can put your hands, one on your chest and one on your stomach. These are my favorite ones. Then you can feel how your chest and your stomach is expanding and contracting. And having this warmth of your body will remind you that you are touching your body. So when you breathe in, you can focus on your breathing, how your body expand and contract. And it's a very simple exercise. You can close your eyes and count like maybe 3 counts of 3. Breathe in 1, 2, and 3, and then hold your breath for 3 seconds and exhale for 3 seconds. A very simple exercise, but when you do it, there's an immediate shift. Yeah.
Okay.
I like this intervention is because that, of course, I also being quite worried sometimes due to the pandemic situation. But when I do this exercise, I remind myself that everything is okay. And when we focus on our breath, our thoughts will not run around. And that's very important.
So does one do this when we feel panicky, or is this a proactive thing that you do like every morning?
This will be more proactive things, in exercise or intervention that you do from time to time.
Okay, so maybe I guess like what could be helpful in this time is to sort of schedule it into your morning. Because for me, like I feel like when you want to build a habit, then I put it in as part of something that I do every day. Like I make my bed every day, I brush my teeth every day. So maybe what I can do is I can do this straight after I brush my teeth or straight like before I make my bed. And how long would you recommend doing something like this for?
I'll recommend maybe around, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh, that's really quick, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe a nice way to start the day, I mean, I feel like I want to try this, is like maybe when I wake up, instead of, okay, this is terrible, but the first thing I do is to reach my phone. Maybe instead of that, I can reach on my phone and set a 2-minute timer and do it for 2 minutes. Maybe
Yes.
that could, I might fall back asleep. But
True.
but you know what I mean, right? I guess the point is to just get it into your day. I like that, and that seems very easy to do. Are there other such resilience interventions or activities that we can do?
Yeah, there are so many out there, right? And you can just try many of them and see what really sticks for you.
Yeah.
And just how you were asking earlier, that if let's say a person is triggered, who is
Yes.
already in that anxious state and they're like feeling fearful, right?
Yeah.
And how could you, if you find yourself that you're in that state and you're aware that it's happening, can this activity help you or this intervention help you? Yes, it can. But sometimes, even in the state of chaos, when you try to calm yourself down, it can be quite difficult. Maybe
Okay.
that you're in a different environment, you're outside, then you find that you may not like this activity.
Yeah.
But the first intervention that can help you when you're anxious is to recognize that where to dissociate or exclude yourself from that environment that you are in.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. If let's say that I am feeling anxious when I'm in my room, right, for whatever reasons, and I found myself that I'm feeling very anxious, I cannot do this activity. The first thing first, I have to exit my room and go to somewhere else.
Oh, so the physical space actually makes a difference.
Yeah, of course, I would recommend that if we will say that let's go to a neutral point.
Okay.
A neutral point means that away from your current situation or current environment, but go to another place and shift your energy and shift your breath over there.
Okay.
I can go over there and do this intervention, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is the first thing. This is a lifesaver, I would say.
Yeah.
We will, a backstory, we were also teaching this technique to the COVID-19 crisis responders in China.
Okay.
And they are facing a lot of stress because in China, there was a lockdown previously and many people are calling in to this hotline, and these psychologists and counselors, they're also being taught this technique. And they said that this is really very good, very simple and very fast.
I think for me, the interesting thing is also that you are suggesting that it should be a proactive thing. Like you don't wait until you feel panicky to do it, but like it's something that you train and you do every day. I think that's pretty good because in these times, like, I don't think we should wait until we get to that point. So you're saying that if we like do this every day, we will build up our resilience anyway, and like something. How does it work?
Well, it's also a little bit more about stretching your resilience muscle. Like, for example, I know that you exercise a lot, right?
Yeah.
And then you do this things like strength training or resistance training.
Yeah.
But resistance training only helpful when there are some sort of resistance. So take that. So for this illustration, take stress and worry as a form of resistance.
Okay.
Once you are aware that it is just a resistance, then you immediately change the term anxiety or stress to it is just resistant. And that awareness will shift you from a stress level to a development phase.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying just labeling it differently and seeing it from a different perspective is a good way to deal with it.
Yes.
I do think so because, you know, a lot of the feel on the street is that there's a lot of gloom and doom obviously around the current situation and a lot of negativity that I feel is not helpful, but I'm saying it from maybe not from an expert point of view. So I guess this helps me to confirm that it, you know, just thinking about it from a positive space is actually helpful and has been proven to help in general. It's not just like think positive lor, but it does actually help your state.
Yeah. It's very difficult to think positive. Many people will think that if you talk about positive psychology, it's not about thinking positive. It's more about focusing on healthy habits. It could be thinking, living, or many different things. So if the person is really panicking, you know, they are having this sort of anxiety, it's not possible to tell the person, hey, let's practice 3 positive things now.
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive. People cannot receive it.
So I guess the question is, how do we deal with negativity then? Like, how do we deal with negative people? Because there is a lot of negativity in this current time, I think.
Oh, big topic.
Yeah. Is that too much? Okay, maybe we'll save that for the next one.
Yeah.
We'll save that for the next one. I think
How
that...
about, how about you? How do you deal with How do you deal with stress and anxiety yourself? Maybe you can share, because I know that you learn positive psychology and you've been practicing with your personal intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you dealing with yourself?
So I think I'm a very physiological person, right? So I feel like I expend a lot of energy through like physical things. So for me, sports is a very, very big part of it. And I think it's interesting because previously I used to use sports as an outlet. Like, you know, when I'm upset or stressed, then I'll go for a run or I'll do some sort of sport. And I still do that, but I also do it proactively now. So I make sure that I do something active because that is what keeps me... I feel like before the negative energy has a chance to build up, I do something to get rid of it first.
So what does it mean? It means that when you start to feel
It means like I don't go for days without working out.
Okay.
Because I feel like then there's no way for me to expand out negativity because sports is a way for me to deal with it. The other thing is I feel like the perspective shift also, it used to be for me, I'm like, wow, so mumbo jumbo, okay lor, change your thinking, change your life, right? I mean, people say things like that and like that is so like, okay, cliche or it doesn't really work. But to be honest, it really does work. Like when I think about this whole situation, I feel negative about it too. I'm human, right? But then I try to see the positive in it. As in the world is sort of resetting.
Yep.
Nature is resetting.
Yep.
Like it's a good reset because, you know, cruise ships are not sailing. Factories are like cutting down production and the world has time to sort of reset. And I feel like I have time to reset, like, and I want to make use of this time properly. I mean, I was studying for exam before this, but now that is over this week, I told myself since work is a bit slower, you know, and instead of worrying about work is slower, like, you know, income is less, then maybe I should tell myself, but the whole world is going slower. Everybody collectively is suffering the same fate. So why not use it positively and like finally purge my house of all the clutter? Because I always say like I don't have time to do it, but actually now I have time. So instead of using the time to like whine about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, so sad, this and that, right? Then use it positively, right? So clear the clutter. I told myself the other things, I want to create more positive content on how, you know, like we can work through it together. Like I want to create content on how I'm dealing with, I wouldn't say I'm socially isolated, but definitely more isolated than I used to be because I have friends who choose to not come out, for example. Right, and I kind of miss them. I mean, from a very extreme extrovert point of view, I just miss some friends and family who maybe choose to not come out. And like I said, I don't feel like that is wrong. I feel like this is a choice that they have made. So, but I kind of miss them. And then so I find ways to deal with it. And I'm also want to make more content on, I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like that. You know, there's a lot of content made for introverts. But I think in this time, like, I mean, I know it's a very first world problem, but for the people who are not actually down with the disease, like how we cope, and not just cope, but how we thrive in this time,
Yep.
you know, it could be used so much more positively. Yep. So I think for me, that perspective shift has helped. So I want to create more content like that. I want to clear my house, use it productively like this time, and really take time to spend time with like my mom and spend time with family that I always say, oh, no time. But actually now, because work is slower, I have the time. It's like, how do I want to spend the time? So for me, that's how I deal with it. That's how I deal with stress. Like even in school, like if there's an exam, I'm stressed out about it. But I also tell myself, but it's like a game. It's like sport. You know, it's like, oh, okay, then you study very hard and you like kind of plan your like training. Like how, I mean, because I see everything like sport, right? So I plan my study. And then it's like gearing up and then you taper off, like how you taper off for sports. So you taper off like the last hour or what, I may not stress myself as much, you know, and then I have like a ritual maybe before I go into a test. Like, I don't really like to talk to people before I sit for an exam.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really don't like I feel like all the information is there, don't talk to me because if not, it might fall out.
Okay.
Like, you know, so I feel like that's just how I deal with it. I try to make it like fun, or make it like a sport, and try to see it productively. Maybe it's a very type A thing to do also, to always want to be productive. We can talk about that big topic in another podcast.
Yes.
But I also know myself. So because I know I am type A and want to be productive, so hence I'm trying to see this so-called negative period in a way like, okay, how can I be productive in a different way? Like clearing my house, which has never been the top of my list of priorities, but always been there nagging me and staring me at the face, like, and pissing me off because the clutter pisses me off. But like always, no time. Now I have time.
Yeah, it's a time to declutter physically and mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
Right?
So I mean, that's how I kind of deal with it. And I think there are a lot of other things that, you know, we can talk about and we will talk about in another podcast.
Yeah.
But I think for now, this is great. It's great how we have talked a bit about the situation and how we can cope with it small ways. I think we can come back and talk about how to deal with negativity.
Yeah, what's one more thing is when we talk about social distancing.
Yes.
I think I want to focus on the fact that it's really not social distancing, it's about physical distancing.
Okay.
Because social
Yeah.
distancing, it seems to suggest that we are trying to isolate from each other socially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's time, actually the word may be misrepresented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there are like a lot of fun ways you can keep in touch. I have two really close friends, one of whom is in Vietnam and one is in Malaysia, and everyone's kind of stuck, right? Because we can't fly out to each other or drive up to JB to see my friend in Malaysia. So we've been doing like conference calls, you know, and then there are a lot of like, one of my friends it's the one she made me download. It's called, oh my gosh, what's it called?
Is it Zoom party?
No, Zoom Party is one of them, but there's another one that's called, I literally just, House Party.
House party.
Have you heard of it? There's this app called House Party.
No.
Yeah, so
Okay.
literally, I think it came up in this time of COVID,
Okay.
right? So you can, so I said, why don't we just use Zoom or like WhatsApp video? She's like, oh no, so you can like play games and stuff like that. So we have a house party date tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think there are like fun ways that you can keep in touch with your friends who like may not want to come out of the house, right? And I think it's really about making the time and effort, right? So I think you're right. It shouldn't be called social distancing. It's literally physical distancing, just you know, to flatten the curve. But we should still make the effort to engage and to keep in touch with friends, right? And it's
Very
like, it's like having a long distance relationship. With these two friends, we always joke that we have long distance friendship. But with some friends who are in Singapore who may not want to come out, we have long distance friendship also, or we have like, you know, I mean, it's so good now with technology, we still can keep in touch. You know, and then I think the other fun thing is that there are all these stay home challenges. Like I just sent you one.
Yes.
Which is like 10 unpopular things. So it's a list of 10 things, to list down 10 things that you don't like that other people probably like. Like for example, I listed like bubble tea or Game of Thrones.
Okay.
You know, like most people are like, oh, you don't like bubble tea or Game of Thrones. I don't.
That's very strange.
Yeah, but it's one of those fun things that you send around and you kind of get to know your friends better.
Yeah.
So if you look at this positively, you may not, a lot of times when you meet, you may talk about mundane things or you may spend time like gossiping about other people. But in this way, like you're actually getting to know your friends a bit more. And they are like quite cool ones. Like I just got sent this wakeboard bingo. So it's like a bingo chart, and then you tick off the stuff that you have experienced. Like, have you been yanked off an obstacle? I mean, wakeboarding, or people who wakeboard at wake parks would know. Or have you gone to an overseas wake park? Then you kind of try to get a bingo. But there are many versions of this, not just for wakeboarders. Like, there's a netball version, so you can do it in your interest groups. And there are like non-sports related ones also. Okay, I know I sound very like only sports, but there are TV versions, I'm sure, which for movie buffs and TV buffs you might like. Or it's just a way for you to get to know your friends better. Like these fun games that are like social media fun games that you can like just, you don't even have to download anything. Some of them is just a screenshot and then you just tick. You know, so I think there are fun ways to keep in touch and fun ways to like engage with your friends and engage with people that don't require physical you to actually be there. So, you know, we should just be a bit more creative.
Yeah.
And have more intention, like okay, like my intention is to keep up connections with people and to like clean my house and be productive in that way. So I think setting goals for me helps. For the type A personalities. Yeah. Right. For the maybe not so type A personalities, it's mindfulness and getting back to the self. That could be things that, like, I think we should talk about that in future podcasts. Yeah. So I think, you know, let us know, like, if this was helpful in any way. Please get in touch. There are many ways. You can leave a comment. You can drop us a line on social media. And let us know what sort of topics you want to hear us talk about. Yes. You know, whether it's physical, talking more about physical distancing or managing negative emotions, how to deal with negative people. I think we've had all this. I think I've had a few requests of what do you do at home? You know, or how to deal with social isolation, like interesting ways to spend your time. Because for me, like I'm forever thinking about this right now because I haven't been quarantined yet, touch wood. But if I am, you say yet. I mean, I'm just being realistic, right? It is a scary time, right? I'm being realistic. I really hope not. But like, you know, like what if like Malaysia, Singapore goes into total lockdown? Right, then I have to find ways to entertain myself at home. So I'm really trying to find ways, and I'm really like very interested in content like that. So let me know and let us know if you're interested in content like that. We'll make that for you as well. Yeah, if you want to know more about any sort of psychological interventions, how to be more resilient, or how do you keep yourself away from anxiety, please let us know also. Yeah, I mean, Stefan is like someone that you really can tap to find more positive psychology ways to deal with all this. And I think this thing about interventions, otherwise known as activities,
Okay.
right, or exercises that you can do
Yes.
is very helpful because it's little steps that we can all do to keep ourselves happier and mentally stronger. So let us know. Let Stefan and I both know like what else you want to hear.
Or maybe the next time when we do this, we can try some of the interventions live.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we can do that. We can do that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
that's all from us. Thank you
Okay.
so much
See
for
you.
listening and for watching. Bye.
Thank you for listening and watching. Bye bye.